You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or ITV. The Bon Ray Show on ITV.ie and Irish News Radio. We're talking about immigration. It's actually not immigration into our country. It is an invasion brought on by our own treacherous government. And the only tool we have is education. So we all have to keep educating ourselves, and we have to keep passing this education on, keep passing this website on, keep passing it on, keep showing people irishnewsradio.com. Start getting in touch, start showing people how to use it, start passing it on, because education is our only tool. We're going to talk about what's going on in around us. So the UK has begun to return migrants who cross the channel in small boats. They're returning them back to France, which is good, very good. Good for the UK. They're making waves. Bloody shocking, Ireland has decided to criminalise any commercial activities to do with Israel. And although the EU is a Nazi dictatorship, Ireland has even decided to pass that out and decided to attack the Jews. Like, history is repeating itself. This is absolutely a disgrace, and not only attacking the Jews, but attacking anybody in Ireland who decides to buy Jewish from Israel products. Whether you're Jewish in Ireland or you're anybody else, that will become a criminal activity. If we're not living in a Nazi fascist state, I don't know what it is. History repeating. Suddenly it's okay now to criminalise anybody to do with Israel. It's absolutely shocking. Wouldn't be surprised now if they stop people travelling to Israel and saying it's criminalised to travel to Israel. You become a criminal. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, this government is such a criminal itself, and it's trying to criminalise people for supporting Israel. Whether you're a Jew in Ireland, and of course Jewish in Ireland have been here for centuries, and there was no problem. In fact, they were well known in Dublin and a lot of poor areas as moneylenders, and they were good people. Suddenly this anti-Jewish, it's like history is returning. It's a very dangerous state of mind when the Irish government, and the only one in the fascist state of the EU who has actually decided to actually criminalise people buying anything, and criminalise, people who are Jewish themselves who want to buy products from Israel. It's shocking, absolutely disgusting, really, really upsetting. And it's not a good place. It really isn't. I don't know what Israel is going to think of Ireland or what they're going to do, but it's certainly absolutely shocking. Really is insane when most of them don't even know where bloody Israel is if you gave them a map. Now, there's another part of our disgusting, horrific, horrible government which all should be set up on a wall and shot, not just even locked up for the rest of their lives. I think shot or die. It's absolutely 20% of primary schools have children in their schools that are homeless. 27%. 27%. So obviously the schools are talking about the impact on school attendance, their learning, their well-being. I mean, it's surprising they're not actually going to be happy little bunnies going to school when they have no homes. Going into school starving, hungry, cold, and scared of the future, scared of where they're going to be that night. And they're not eating properly through that. So obviously they're not attending school properly, and they're not even being able to concentrate in school. Meanwhile, the government has set out to take Irish people out of their homes and put in migrants. And the migrant children are sitting quite happily in the classes because they don't ever have to worry whether they're going to be homeless or not. No. The Irish government have made sure that these non-Irish, particularly Muslims and North Africans, get a home and that their food, they have enough food and they have a car, they have everything. But the native, indigenous Irish, 27% of them. Now, none of them are non-Irish who are sitting there cold and hungry and homeless. No, that 27% are all the indigenous Irish. All Africans that come in here get a home, even though they don't even bloody speak English and will never work here and are mainly on benefits. All those get a home and possibly cars and fridges and cookers and whatever they need. But the Irish indigenous people are being thrown out of their homes. If that doesn't boil your blood, there's something very wrong with you. Our government hates us so much that our children are suffering. In huge numbers, 27% is a massive number. That they hate the indigenous race so much that they're willing to damage us in any way from their childhood being miserable. While these Africans who have no allegiance to Ireland, they only have allegiance to Islam. They have no respect. They have no culture to do with Ireland. Get homes where the Irish children are freezing going to school. They have to worry, sit in a class. There's no way they'll be able to take in that. And while the teacher are all mollycoddling their so-called refugee migrants because their skin is black. Oh, look at you. You don't speak any English. Here, we'll hold up the whole class and we'll have a basic conversation so you learn how to say you can go to the toilet and give you amazing claps. And maybe we'll give you like A+ because you've learned 3 words in English. While the Irish indigenous children are being held back because their immigrants don't speak any English. And not only are they being held back because the immigrants are being mollycoddled while the Irish are being ignored. And while the Irish are being ignored, they've been starved. They have no food. They go in, they're freezing, they're cold, they're homeless. But 27%. 27% is an absolutely bloody disgrace. The Irish indigenous people have a right to this home. This is their land. This is their heritage. This is where they belong. Absolutely disgusting government. Boils my bloody blood to see this happening. And it's just thinking about those children sitting there worried where they're going to be that night, while the non-Irish are being mollycoddled in schools and then they get their homes and they know they're going to be safe. Where because they're born in Ireland, because they have Irish blood, they're not guaranteed a home. It's absolutely disgusting. Breaks my bloody heart. I absolutely hate this government. It's disgusting. The more I think of this government, it really does upset me. And how Irish people can stand back and watch our own people suffer like this. And where a good person like Ben Gilroy, who only crime was to save people from being thrown out on the cold streets because they were born Irish. They weren't born African. They didn't get that gold victim card when they were born. They were born Irish, so they can get thrown out on the streets. That was their only crime. And he gets 3 months in jail, where rapists, if you're Muslim in Ireland now, are given a free card. Where the Irish indigenous people are not wanted in this country by their own anti-Irish government. And the children, the Irish children, are suffering because of this government. It's time we took to the streets and get this bloody government out. Our healthcare is in bits. People are dying. Cervic cancer. Women died. Leo was the healthcare minister at that time. Why hasn't he paid? He should have been charged with murder for what happened that's why the book stops. He was the health minister at the time. And then after that, he was the Taoiseach. Why isn't he actually up for charges of murder? It's an absolute disgrace. And while you all kind of go, oh, it'll get better or whatever, it's not getting any better, it's getting worse. Get out in the streets and start protesting. Get this bloody government out. Get a government that will put the Irish people first. Put the Irish children first. It's a disgrace, people. Start sharing this, start getting angry and start doing something. Get this government out. I can barely stomach reading some of the headlines these days. My blood boils with anger for everything this country has been through famine, been through persecution and genocide, for it to be going through again. And for all these leftists to be willing to bring it on because they're Irish. That they don't have the rights to be born here. This is their land, this is their culture. Do you think Africa would be doing that to their own and welcoming white children and allowing white children to take their homes while the Africans starve there? No, they would not be allowing Irish children go there. In fact, if you're white now in Africa, it's okay to be killed as well by the black African government. This is the Irish land. The Irish have been through enough. They have a right to be here. This is their land. The Africans and everybody else have no right to be here. But the Irish do, and they should be put first. Those Irish children, 27% is a serious, extreme number for children to be homeless in this country. An absolutely ridiculous state. It boils my blood and breaks my heart. And it really upsets me that people aren't coming out on the streets defending the lives of the Irish children. They have a right to be educated. They have a right to be homed in their own land. And when this country, as it is, has collapsed, all those Africans can get on a plane and go back to their own real land. The Irish children cannot go to Africa or anywhere else. They can't just take up with a plane and go. Well, the African children can, after they lived a lovely, comfy life on the Irish taxpayers' money. And the Irish children had nothing to show for it because, unfortunately, they were Irish. They were indigenously Irish, so they weren't welcomed by the anti-Irish government. They've nowhere to go. This is their only land. This is their home of their ancestors. This is their home of their blood. This is where they belong. But they're not welcome because of the anti-Irish government. Again, thank you very much for listening on the Bon Ray Show. It was a slightly emotional. As I read headlines, it just really upsets me. This government is a disgusting disgrace. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow with the amazing Eileen and news about what's happening with the EU and the UN traitorous that the Irish government is putting us through. It's disgusting. As the Lisbon Treaty is coming into play more and more, freedom of speech will be a thing of the past, and we will not have this show, or may not be able to air this, or even air our views. It is a Nazi state we're living in. Thank you for listening on the Bon Ray Show.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.